Alright, I'm going to show you how to put these electric parking switches back together. Basically, there's also the reverse, of course, of these. This is what it looks like all apart, all the separate buttons. Of course, I took mine apart because it was hella dirty. There was a lot of shit stuck in the little groove down in here. All the food just goes down into here, and as you lift the switch, it just dumps it all underneath. So there was like a metric ton of garbage in there. Now, I did try to take the rocker off, but can't really get it off. It's pressed on too tight. Here it is. So you can see that I tried, but all you're going to do is just damage it. So I would recommend not taking this off and just using like a paintbrush to get in there with some soapy water, clean it all out. Of course, when you put this in the water, it's not going to affect anything because there's no electronics in it anymore. There's also actually no metal in this anymore, so you can clean the whole switch right out. Make sure you get it up and under the groove in here, because that's where your switch gets stuck a little bit. A lot of your drink stuff gets stuck in there. Anyway, so everything is all the reverse of how I'm putting it together. So that part just snaps in. To get this piece out, all you just got to do is just got to push it out, pull it out as hard as you can. It's not going to damage it, but there's two tabs, one here, one here. Park hold button goes back over top, snaps on. To take it off, you just use a little screwdriver, pop the end of this tab out, be gentle with it. A little tiny screwdriver like this, or even smaller, is beneficial for here, so you can get it in and under. You pull at the same time you're pulling this, pulling the end out, but like I said, be gentle because you can break this part right here, and of course the other side too. That piece will come right off. Now, before you put this piece on, there is a tab. It goes in like this. And it snaps on just like so. And to get this piece off, you have to have this button out. And you pop the tabs just like this on the back. And then you pull hard this way. The whole thing will spring right off. You won't break it. So you're good on that front. Now, for the electrical parts, you basically just want to use a dry brush on this part. If you get any crumbs or anything like that. The switches usually are okay. They should sound like this. Put this back in. Snaps in like that. To take it out, put your fingernail underneath. Pull this tab. Pull this tab. It'll pop out enough on one side that you can go the opposite. Same thing. Pop that tab. And it comes apart. And reassembly. Just like that. And then you got your switch all back together. Take this out. Do this. Just a simple screwdriver. Come apart. Maybe may give you a little bit of difficulty once you got one side out. You might have to put a little bit of pressure on it. These switches are extremely easy to take apart though. Of course, it'll keep snapping in. If you have like an extra screwdriver that you can just kind of poke in here while you're pulling the other side apart, like this one. It'll come apart real easy. Well, it's basically just, of course, reverse. And that's how you rebuild your parking switch. Alright, now you're going to put your parking switch back into your housing. So this is the little coin tray. I've already cleaned it, but it could stand to be a little bit better cleaned, but I'm showing you how to put it back in. It just goes like this. There's 3 screws, one here, and one here. All you have to do is screw those back in. You might need a tiny socket to do so, or a tiny screwdriver to do so. I'm just using my electronic screwdriver. Try not to drop them on the floor. Don't want to lose these. Sure, everything is popped in properly, just like so. Double check it if you're not sure. Switch should look like this when it's back in the housing without anything on it. Now to put it back in the tray. Now you're going to, now I have mine all apart. I have the drink tray out of this as well, so because it apparently gets extremely nasty. So it basically just goes back on like this. Put the screws in. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Now this part has to go back in before you put the tray, the drink tray back on. And I've got that all apart as well, and I'll show you how to put that back together as well, and the way to take it apart. Alright, and now we come to the drink tray. So as you can see, everything is all apart. It comes all apart. There's no springs or anything in these. It's just, this is just a roller. Fits in the groove of these. These are the 2 sides. I did clean this, but as you can see, there's the roller has tendency to suck gunk into it as well. Now this, one of the reasons why you would want to tear this apart is because this gets extremely nasty. All the gunk falls down in between the rails, falls all into here. The roller gets dirty all across the top where you can't get it, including underneath here. So you got to use a brush to clean this. This part, all the dirt and debris falls down into here. And, well, with the roller door in the way, you can't get at that. So you literally have to tear the whole thing apart. Now then, I'll show you how to put this back together. So these are the little cup sliders. So they're like the little springy doodads that go into your thing. They're really easy to go back in. There's 2 different ones. These ones go into the back. Well, that one doesn't. That one's a different one. this one goes into the back. So as you can see, it just slides into the hole. When it's all together, it holds it together. Now these ones are a little bit different. These ones come up and in. So you gotta press it on the inside, and then slide it up into its housing. Of course, without dropping your other thing on the floor. There we go, like so. This is also my first time taking this apart, so there's a tab right here. Push it down like this, and then just simply slide it up and click. Yeah, look at the other one that we dropped on the floor. Put that back in. These ones don't click, they're just there. Now this goes on here like this, and this has a couple of screws in it as well. So on the cup holder, you can see there is 6 screws. There's one here, here, in the middle, and 2 at the top. You can see where the holders are on here. 2 screws. So 6 altogether. It sits on there like that, and then you screw in the screws. Now this takes the little screws. There we go. Sorry, camera became unfocused. All right. This part helps if you have a magnetic screwdriver. Of course, reverse. What I'm doing now, and that is the tear apart procedure. Now don't tighten these too tight, just until you start feeling them snug, because if you tighten them too tight, they'll strip out because of the type of plastic that this is. So when you feel a little bit of resistance, don't turn it anymore. Alright, this goes over top like so. And grab your slider rail. You can actually snap one of these on the side. There's a little guide tab here and down here. These snap in across the bottom. Now that you have one in, put your tray back on top, like so. And you can put the other side on. And there's not really anything to really remember. Most of this is going to be just pressure fit. Now there is one screw in here. There's a felt pad that goes over top of here. I got mine wet, so I'm not putting them back on right yet. You take the one screw, in the hole. Now there's more screws across here. There's one here and one here. Should snap together all the looseness to it. And then right up at the front, there's one more. And you flip over to the other side. Now you can't screw this up because they are they're specific to each side. Now if everything is back together properly, this should roll back. And as you can see, this comes back and stops right there. So all the crap that gets in and under here, which they made a convenient little hole, a couple of holes right there for all the dirt and crap to go in there. You can't get it out unless you tear this whole thing apart. Convenient, yes? No. Then your little rubber just slides down on the inside there, and that's how that looks. And then I'll show you how to put it into the bezel. So this is going to face this way. There is a couple of pop tabs on either side. You need to get these into. Now, I already screwed in the other thing, so this screw here goes in after. Now, once it looks all flush on the inside, you put the screws in. So there's two here. And the one that I just took out, one right here. And there's two more right at the top, here and here. There. Now your whole center console is back together. Now your button works again. Now then, there is plenty of places for crap to hide in this car. Now, this is another one. The shifter bezel. This goes over top of this like this. This is not hard to get apart. There's a couple of little pull tabs right here. You can basically just push them away from the side while you're pushing the bezel down and this part out, and it comes off like that. Now this is another place that a lot of crap gets into. So you want to wipe this down. So you got this out of the car anyways to do the rest of the stuff, so you might as well clean. Get everything clean. These things have a tendency to collect a lot of junk, a lot of goo. My car's not really any exception. The easiest way to do this is just damp cloth, some soapy water. As you can see, that's all junk. It's down in between the boot. Your drink spills into here all the time. Super nasty. For anything you might need to dig out. Use just a little screwdriver to hard shit out. You could take the electronics out of this and soak it in the water if you really wanted to. For the sake of time saving, I'm just cleaning it the way it is. You take the electronics out, you just take these 3 screws off. And there's a pop tab here. Another 2 on this side, and you can take the whole electronic module out. Then you can just stick it in the water. I advise not trying to take this out. It's basically the shift lock release. It is supposed to come out right here, but it's another one of those things where it's just too damn tight, so it's not worth the time trying to take it out. So just get into the hole as much as you can, because apparently all your crumbs from like food and stuff likes to go down in there too. Same thing with dirt. Not much you can do about it. Bezel goes back on like so. Now if you really wanted to, you could also take this chrome bit and like vinyl wrap it or color it red or whatever accent you want in your car, and that's one of the ways to do that. Now there's also a lot of buttons around the edges of this. I already cleaned this one. You don't generally have to take this apart because it doesn't collect a lot of dirt in it, but if you do get like a bunch of junk down into these little notches, same thing as the emergency brake switch. You pop these on one side, then you pop them on the other side. This tab will come off, and there will be the little plastic brush things underneath, and you can clean all that button right out. Here's the other one. I haven't done this one yet. As you can see, super gross. Now, as I said before, you can tear the whole thing apart, but if it's just simply dirty with debris, you can just take a brush clean most of that out. If you have an air nozzle, that would be even easier. A little bit of air from your mouth. Do the trick as well. Now, just take your rag. Clean the crap off. If you have to, use your nail. Don't be afraid to get this part wet. You're not going to get any electronics wet. The upper half of this switch is all basically just the switch. Make sure your buttons work, because you can also end up getting these all gummy as well. And as you can see, you can pop tab all these top halves off. And to get the electronic circuit board out, you just pop all the tabs again with a little bit of outward force. This whole unit will come apart. If you just get the circuit board out, you can just put the whole thing in a sink of water and just use any long bristle brush, clean it apart, or take the whole thing apart. I'm pretty sure these just come out with pressure. Now, with all this out, leaves you with a nice open center console. I cleaned all this out. This was pretty nasty as well. As you can see, there's a bunch of wiring harnesses and stuff on this. It stays with it as you take it off. I'll show you how to put it all back together as well. Now, this part, goes in over the top, like so. Now, the other parts, and you can't screw this up either, because they can only go in one way. Go in like so. Again, you have a handful of screws. It'll look like this. Now you'll screw all those in. Your center console will look, well, as close to as new as you can get it again, without actually getting it brand new. Now, as for the screws for this, you'll see there is one here, one here, one here, one there. For the switch, there's one here, one here, one here. Same thing goes for the other side. One here, one here, and one here. There's no real lock tabs except for this one, which has a lock tab right here, right there. To get that out, you push this pop tab, you push this pop tab, and you push these two pop tabs. And the whole thing will come right out. Now, that's how that goes. Now, I left all my screws down in the car, so I'll screw that all together, and then I'll take it down to the car and show you how to put it all back together. Alright, now we're down in the car. So, you remember the wiring harness on the center console here? So, these wires, make sure you plug them back in. These ones are all proprietary on this unit. Try and do this one-handed, so you don't have to worry too much about these or forgetting about them, because you'll see them. So there's a main wire harness right here. big pin. And there's 2 plugs right there. Don't forget to plug those in. Those are for like your cigarette lighter and stuff. Your USB. Now this part is going to be the last part that goes in. So I'll put that off to the side. So for how the car looks without the center console in, this is how it looks like. Now would be a good time to clean down in between your seats. Of course, I don't have access to a vacuum at the moment, so mine will just have to remain dirty, but as you can see, a lot of crap gets down in between here. And you would be surprised. Now, there shouldn't be anything else that you need to plug in. Everything is already plugged in. There's just the center console for the back cable, and you got to make sure you don't muck that up. You can do some additional cleaning on like the gear shift, but you're not going to see it. Alright, let's get the center console in. Alright, now you're going to see how the console goes back in the car. This may not be the greatest shot because I'm doing a lot of this by myself, but essentially this whole piece comes in like so. You get it over the shifter. Down and in. Through your wiring harnesses. Over top. This one stays underneath. There. Now in the front, there's 2 tabs that this rests in. One there and one there. Now, for mine, you're supposed to already have this attached before you put this in. Now, when I pulled mine out, there's 3 screws right here, or rather 2. You flip the whole console over upside down, unscrew those 2 screws, and then you just basically pull this whole unit out. Now, there is not really any screws to this. It just clicks all into place. Then there is 2 screws that holds this down. Now, you may not have the same tools that I do, but I have a power ratchet, so now don't tighten those down too much. That tool can also over torque those, and you can wire out the plastic, so be careful of that. Now in the bottom there is an insert like this. That basically just goes back in here like this and hides everything in there. Now you're all finished there. Now to get the rest of the center console out, there is a screw here and a screw here. Now you'll need to remove these. get the whole center console out. Otherwise it won't come out. Now, I also mentioned this before, to not forget your wiring harnesses. But this will show you how this console comes out. Comes out just like that. You're going to need something strong like this to pull the front out. Now, there's two connectors that connect to this, and the second one under here. Here. There's that harness. Connects there. Doesn't really have home, it just goes there. That's what connects your 12-volt plug. And then this one goes there like that. Can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Your tabs don't want to line up. So if you have to, you're free to pull it back up. Pretty much this whole unit is basically just pop tabs. Now, center console, this big beefy boy, is in there like that. There's a little knobby on the end of it that you pull, and then you pull up. It actuates. And then there's one more plug here, and that. Actually, there should be two more plugs. Oh, this one is that one. Should be one more here. This is why it's also important to make sure you got all your wires before you put everything down. As you can see, I had one underneath. Now before you snap everything in, do a double check. There's these two harnesses and this one harness. This harness stays connected to the unit, the head unit. Now you're going to have to put the card power on, push brake, bring your shifter all the way down, and you can kind of worm this into place. Like so. Now, this part does not require any extra screws. There is, however, 2 screws, one on either side of the console down beside it. And of course, once you got that in place, you can turn your car back off. And if you really want to, you can check to make sure that all your power buttons are lighting up. Make sure you didn't damage anything, and you can turn your car back off again. Now, I'll put the other screws in afterwards. Now, the last part is the shifter. Now, the shifter comes out all in one unit. You have to, once again, put this into neutral. Then you can put this down over top of the shifter. You gotta find the hole down in the center here. May take you a little bit. Where you snap it in, snap your boot in, and then just shove this down. One good solid hit and she won't come out. Now to get it off, it's going to take a bit of force. You gotta really kind of pull up on it. You're going to be pulling really hard on it, so be careful you don't hit your hand on the roof. To get it off, as you can see, very hard, but it does come off that way. It's designed that way. Make sure you push the trigger in at the same time that you're doing it. Now, like I said, snap your boot in, snap your shifter down. Check to make sure that it's good. And you're done. That's it. The whole console is now back in the car. And it looks much better.